All right, Timmons, what up, man? Uh, I wanted to send you a video today just because I have a few things to explain, I guess. Uh, this week's ADP Weekly looks a lot different than the other few because I actually came across a few oversights I had made, mistakes. And because of that, I'm actually letting you know now that I'm not going to hold you to the 5 FAA bucks just because I'm not going to be able to come through on the promises I made in the beginning. So I'm not going to hold you to that. It's going to be free this year, so don't worry about that. But some of the things that I ended up happening was I actually realized that the list I was using, that I was basing these things on, I thought was a PPR list. Turns out it was not. And so I did end up finding and did some research, ended up finding a pretty quality PPR list to use to base everything off of. But in doing so, it really shook up the rankings. So there's no green or red, there's no up or down, everything just kind of a fresh start. Um, the other thing is I had, as I told you, removed keepers and kickers from the list so I can get a kind of a big picture of the players that are going to be available. But at the same time, I'm now realizing that in doing so, I still needed to account for the keeper picks that were being taken in each round because there's no sense in knowing what 12 players are available in the ninth round if there's only going to be 6 picks in that round due to keepers, if that makes sense. So based on those two things, it kind of really rearranged things on the list. So it's kind of a fresh list. Because of that, there's no. I was doing the rise and fall, tracking progress and stuff like that of players through the rankings, and so that's out the window. So that's the thing I can't fulfill my promise on. That's gone. So basically, what I did with the keeper picks is just kind of noted it at the bottom or something. Just that way I know how many picks are going to be in the round. So that way I can tell if a guy's going to be at the end of the second or if he's going to be in the third round. That helps. But anyway, so one thing I do want to do on here is actually show you the way it was intended to work when I put this all together. The whole reason I did this, man, was because I wanted a better way to kind of estimate what players would be available at my in each round for my picks. And this was kind of the best way because when you look at some of the they do average round position. Those are usually based off 10 league teams, so they don't fit. And even the ones that do um, the average pick position, which is like, say, oh, this guy normally goes 78 or whatever, that doesn't account for keepers. So that still isn't as accurate. So that's why I did this. And I just want to show you how it was supposed to work so that next season, if you might be a little bit, still be interested in using it. Basically, the way I do things coming into a draft is I put together a plan A and a plan B. I usually write them down. So there's a plan A and plan B. And the way I do that is I feel like your draft is basically set up by your first 3 picks, especially in our league where you have 3 keepers. So when you got 3 picks, you got 3 keepers. That's a good chunk of your team right there, and you're basically filling holes after that. The way I set up those first 3 rounds is using that predicted draft picks of the first 3 round sheet. So let's say, for instance, and I'm going to use I know I just made a trade and picked up Lacey. I'm going to use my keeper setup before that, keeper scenario before the trade. So let's say I'm going into a draft. I know I have, I have? A running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end. So let's say for my first pick, I want to go with a quarterback. Or let's say a wide receiver. That's fine. Um, pull up the predicted picks list. As you can see, number 6, And all I would do from there is count off the number of wide receivers that will come off the board before my pick, which in this situation is just one wide receiver. So knowing that, grab the rankings list, uh, count off the one wide receiver, which would be Brandon Marshall because he's the top wide receiver, and that leaves Julio Jones available. So technically, in my first round, Julio Jones should be there to take. Or not technically, I'm estimating that he'll be there to take. So I keep track. I write Julio Jones down. All right, and I'm gonna just try to. You're getting the point, but it helps. It shows a little bit better in the second and third round. Let's say in the second round, I want to take a running back. Second round, I have the 19th pick, and what I do is again count off the running backs before that pick, since I want a running back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 running backs go off the board before my 19th pick. So what I end up doing is, back to the ranking sheet, count off 12 running backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And what that's basically telling me, the 13th running back is, I don't know if you can see that, if I can get to it, Rashard Jennings. So at this point, because there's been more picks, there's more room for deviation or people to do something other than what's expected. I not only look at Rashard Jennings, who should be on the board, I also look at the running back before him and the running back below him, which would be Shane Vereen above him and Ryan Matthews below him. And I put down all three of those names in my second slot because I want a running back. So I put down Vereen, Jennings, and Matthews. So again, the reason I do that is just in case someone reaches, or someone, say, doesn't take the top guy on the board, or someone takes an extra, or someone goes running back who I thought was going to do wide receiver or something like that. In putting down those three names, one of those guys should at least be available. And if I want a wide receiver for the third pick, I would do the same thing. Just go to my list here. My third pick, 30th pick, count off the number of wide receivers before that. And I've already kind of gone through this once, trying to cut some time here. But when I do that, it comes down that Deshaun Jackson is the guy available. So again, looking at the receiver above him and below him, it's Michael Floyd, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin. So, and I'll put down all three of those names, just like you can tell, just like that. Put down all three names. Now, again, like I said, that helps me be prepared for people to kind of do different things, unexpected things. But in this situation, those first three rounds should be pretty solid. One of those guys, my first round pick should be good, should be golden. But one of these three guys for my second and third round pick should be available. That way I know who's there. Now, like I said, once I have those 3 rounds figured out, I fill in my keepers, I fill in a defensive pick and a kicker, and that's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8 people on a 15-man team right there. More than half my team. So like I said, the first 3 rounds plus keepers, fill in, you're going to take a defense and a kicker. More than half your team's already filled in there. And the reason I do this is because it gives me a look at who's available at what rounds, so I can decide what position I want to take that round. So if I didn't like the options of Floyd, Deshaun, and Maclin at the 3rd round for wide receiver, maybe I'll switch it. Maybe I'll take a wide receiver in my 2nd round because I like the options there better, and I can deal better with the options at running back for a 3rd round pick. So it allows me to kind of get a glimpse of what's there and to decide whether I want to play with my strategy. Now, the first 3 rounds, obviously you can use the predicted draft sheet. For the rest of the rounds, that's not the case. So basically what I do, say if I'm looking at my 10th round pick and I want a wide receiver, I basically just look at who's in the 10th round. It says Bolden, Shorts, Hakeem Nicks for wide receivers. If I'm fine with that, I'll put those three guys down because they should be options then. If not, then maybe I'll look to get my wide receiver an earlier round or a later round. But that's a little bit more of an estimate, but it's still a pretty good. It's better than nothing, in my opinion, and it gives me a pretty good layout for what I'm looking at. So I can see I'm hitting 10 minutes here, but I just wanted to, like I said, first off, my bad with the the mistakes. Be a free year for you, no charge on it, but that's the way it's supposed to work. So anyway, hopefully you see some value in that. Anyway, I do appreciate the support. I really do. I appreciate the support, man, and signing up and having a little faith in me. It meant a lot. So thanks, man. I appreciate that. Hopefully this didn't bore you too much, but anyway, I hope it's still useful to you this year, and I hope you come back for more next year. But anyway, good luck in the draft, man. Good luck this year. Hopefully you tear it up this year like you wanted to last year, except in that championship, because I already got that down. But all right, man. Talk to you later. Take it easy.